Hello students, today we are going to study a very important topic in the chapter Why Do We Fall Ill. In our previous audios, I have sent you the introduction of why do we fall ill, then the classification of the diseases depending upon the infectious particle or depending upon the agent which is actually helping to transmit the diseases. But today we are going to read about the principles of treatment, because once the disease has established in your body, the treatment is essential. So the treatment can be basically categorized under the two topics. One is to reduce the effect of the disease and another one is to kill the cause of the disease. So to reduce the effect of the disease, here very less we can do all about. That means when the disease has already occurred in you, we have to take certain drugs or certain medicines so as to reduce the effect of that disease. Like for example, if there is a headache, if there is a fever, if there is vomiting tendency, or if there is a that is your diarrhea sort of thing. So those things can be checked by means of application or by means of using certain drugs or certain medicines, but that is not going to help you overcome the disease, isn't it? Because that is only going to reduce the sufferings which you are facing because of the establishment of a disease in your body. So that is your area of treatment is very limiting. Okay, but the next part, that is to kill the cause of the disease. Now we all know that the diseases are mostly caused by that of the microorganisms. So if the microorganisms can be killed or they can be tackled, then definitely the side effects which you are facing, that is about fever or the headache or whatever the things are, that can be gradually minimized if the organism is not able to establish in your body or stay for a longer duration in your body. Now what are those things which we can use it to kill the microorganisms? See, in this regard we already know that the microorganisms other than virus, we can check them. The reason is because they have a specific biochemical pathway, which, since these are living organisms, these pathogens are living organisms, so we can check the biochemical pathway, we can restrict their growth. But as far as the virus goes, the virus since can establish itself only within the host cell by replicating its genetic material. So to tackle the virus outside the living body is very difficult. So to understand the biochemical pathway, it is very difficult to go through the biochemical pathway in the laboratory conditions until and unless you are introducing this virus into a living cell, maybe it a bacteria or some smaller mammals, and then studying it minutely, so that now you can think about that, yes, this is the way the virus is going to affect. So if we are using these drugs, or if you are going to break up this thing by the application of certain enzymes, so in that case we can tackle it. So but that is quite a difficult thing. So that is why virus to tackle with the help of medicine or antibiotics is very difficult. So we are at first concentrating upon the organisms other than virus, how to kill these organisms. One very good you can say drug or medicine is that of your antibiotics. Okay, so the first thing is your antibiotics. Now see, here we have two terms, anti and biotics. Now anti means something which is against, and biotics means living organisms. So when you are using something against the living organisms, which living organisms? Which are pathogens, of course, which is harming yourself. So if you are using something against them, so as to restrict them or as to kill them, then we call those chemicals to be the antibiotics. And this antibiotics was discovered by chance by the person. The name of the person was your Alexander Fleming. Okay, so this person was your Alexander Fleming, who has actually found the antibiotics, and this antibiotics which he worked upon, that was your penicillin drug. Okay, so the penicillin drug during the World War II appeared to be like a boon for the wounded soldiers, and it could tackle many problems related to the things which the war victims faced during that particular span of time. And of course, after after the penicillin was being discovered, then many more antibiotics came into existence, and now today every year we have multiple antibiotics coming out from different companies into the market according to the need or according to the use they have. Okay. Now these antibiotics, what are these? These are the chemical substances secreted by the microorganisms, like that of your fungus or like that of your bacteria, and it has the capacity to kill the harmful microorganisms. So see, this is secreted by a microorganism. Okay, it is secreted by a microorganism, and it can kill the harmful microorganism. So that is such a wonderful thing, that it is the microorganisms which is secreting the secretions, and this we can use it for killing the other harmful microorganisms. But along with the harmful microorganisms, antibiotics can even harm the useful microorganisms. In our alimentary tract, in our digestive system, there is a bacteria. The name of that bacteria is called as your E. coli. Now the bacteria's name is known as your E. coli. Okay, it is known as your E. coli. Now this E. coli bacteria is a useful bacteria, but when you take antibiotics, the E. coli bacteria also dies. Okay, its number becomes less. That is the reason why you will see that when you are given antibiotics, along with that the doctor also gives you probiotics. Now what are these probiotics? Probiotics are the other, you can say, useful microorganisms in the form of pills or in the form of drugs, which when you are taking, these are supplementing your alimentary tract so that you don't have any digestion problem. Or else if you just take the antibiotics without taking the probiotics, then you will see that as a use of antibiotics you are facing a problem of something that is your loose motion or that of your diarrhea problem. So to overcome that, you are given a probiotics along with the dosage of antibiotics. So antibiotics are the drugs or the chemicals secreted by the microorganisms which can kill the other harmful microorganisms which can cause disease in us. So this is the step which will become under to kill the cause of the disease. So to kill the cause of the disease, the first thing which can be utilized is your antibiotics. Now these antibiotics can be of two categories. One is called as your broad spectrum antibiotics and another one is called as your narrow spectrum antibiotics. From the name itself you can understand what is the meaning of broad spectrum antibiotics. Broad spectrum antibiotics means those antibiotics which has wider range of dealing with the pathogens. That means it is not only being able to deal with a particular pathogen, but a wide spectrum of similar type of pathogens it can deal, and it will have the same positive results. So that is the advantage of broad spectrum antibiotics. The first antibiotics which was discovered by Alexander Fleming, it was a broad spectrum antibiotics. Narrow spectrum antibiotics are those which are applicable only for a certain bacteria or for a certain pathogen, not too many pathogens. So its area is limiting, but yet it is also effective. So one such example of narrow spectrum antibiotics is that of your ampicillin and that of your tetracycline. See students, we all know that antibiotics were first being found from fungus which is called Penicillium notatum, but you will be also glad to know that not only the fungus are capable of providing us antibiotics, but it is also bacteria which is capable of synthesizing antibiotics. Even some algae is also there, like chlorella. Chlorella is an algae which can synthesize antibiotics. The name of that antibiotics is called chlorellin. Similarly, bacteria Streptococcus is able to synthesize antibiotics. The name of that antibiotics is very common, that is called as your streptomycin. So a wide range of organisms are actually involved in the synthesis of this antibiotics, which is used as a preventive measures to kill the microorganisms. Besides this, as I was talking about, virus is very difficult to control, but there are certain drugs like for example Zidovudin, okay, Now this Zidovudin is an antiviral drug. Now what is its function is that it will be preventing the enzyme which is called reverse transcriptase to function, so that now the RNA cannot be converted into DNA and it cannot get incorporated into the host cell, and as a result the virus cannot establish into the body of the host. So this is the effect of Zidovudin. Although the side effects are there, if you take too much of Zidovudin, then it may result into anemia, but something is better than nothing. So if this drug is taken for the patients who are HIV positive, then the multiplication of the HIV virus within the body will be restricted to a large extent. Okay, now the next topic which we are going to deal is principles of prevention of diseases. Now, principles of prevention of diseases, there goes a saying that is prevention is better than cure, isn't it? If a person already the disease has established, so he or she has to suffer a lot. So treatment is there, of course, but sometimes the treatments are very painful. A person becomes too much weak and his other organs are also affected because of a particular disease. So it is better that we can prevent the entry of the germs in our body as far as possible. Always it is not possible because we are subjected to this environment which is full of microorganisms, but to some extent, if something is in our hand, we can surely go for that, so that we are not affected by the disease to that much extent as if we are neglecting a disease. Okay, now there are two ways by which the that is prevention of the disease can be done. One is the general way and another one is a specific way. Now, general way means what? General way means your habits, your daily habits, how you're maintaining your personal hygiene or how you are maintaining a community hygiene. The places where you go, the places which is public. If you are not maintaining the decorum there, then definitely you are subjected to more microorganisms than others. Like presently we are using mask, isn't it? I'm not using now, I'm taking your class, but otherwise if you're going to some social gathering, you must wear a mask. It is not only for COVID-19, but also it will help you to prevent subjecting more towards the airborne diseases, because commonly when we talk with each other, there is every chance of small aerosol particles in the form of spit which comes out. So if we just these droplets get entered into our respiratory system, and if the person to whom you were talking to was suffering from some kind of respiratory disorders, so those microorganisms can affect your body also, isn't it? So mask is a good practice. Mask is a good practice not only for the present situation but for every time. Next is that to wash our hand before eating and wash after the eating. So this is a common hygiene which we are following and which we should follow, practice it. We should try to prevent as much as possible subjecting to the surfaces which we are touching, which are which that has to be regularly cleaned. Actually, it has to be maintained, it has to be sanitized. So in that case, definitely the germ entry in your body will be less. You should regularly take a bath, whether it is a summer season or a winter season, which we do not like generally, but listen to this very carefully. During the winter time only, the accumulation of the microorganisms generally take part in the places, because we are not allowing our sweaters or allowing our winter garments to be cleaned on a regular basis. So that results into accumulation of more germs on our body surface. So we have to regularly wash or clean our body, whether it is a lukewarm water or whether it is a cold water, it is your choice, but definitely we have to take a bath regularly, whether it is a summer or a winter, that doesn't matter at all. Washing the hands, as I told you, then using hand sanitizers. Drinking water, this is very important. When you drink a water, that should be from a good source, because water, there are waterborne germs which can enter into your body and cause various kinds of problems. So those are the general ways of prevention of diseases. Your personal hygiene, cutting the nails. Okay, cutting the nails is very important. The reason is because within the nails are residing germs in the form of dirt, which you cannot see with your open eyes. You need to have microscope to see them, and once you see them, I'm 100% sure you won't prefer to keep your nails long, especially the girls. You can use some artificial nails for your fashion sense or like that, but otherwise keeping nail is not a good practice. Okay, not a good practice in terms of your health. Next is your specific ways of prevention of diseases. Now, specific ways of prevention of diseases deals with two things. One is our immune system, our body's own immune system, and another one is called as your immunization. Okay, so under this will contain your immune system, and immunization. Now, this topic you're going to read it further when you go to class 12 in the health and disease chapter. But as far as the immune system is concerned, in our body there are lymphocytes. You know that white blood cells, there's a special type of cell called lymphocytes and macrophages, which generally fight against the foreign invading germs. Now, these invading germs, these are called as your antigen. Okay, they are called as your antigen. Now, this antigen can be a microorganism, this antigen can be a dust particle. So anything foreign which enters into our body, they will be called as your antigen. So in response to this antigen, our body's WBC, which type of WBC? The lymphocytes. Okay, lymphocytes. Now, these lymphocytes are the one which will be actually helping the body to get rid of this antigen by synthesizing a substance, a protein. The name of that protein in general, we call it as your antibody. Okay, so the lymphocytes, they produce antibody in response to the antigen, and it is this antibody which help us to fight against the diseases or the disease causing germs. Okay, now generally there are two types of lymphocytes. One is called as your T lymphocytes and another one is called as your B lymphocytes. Now, what does this T means? Those lymphocytes which get its maturity in the thymus gland. Thymus gland is present here. Okay, thymus gland is present here, just below our, that is your neck region here. So the thymus gland, when these lymphocytes go, it undergoes a maturity, and now it will be helping us to fight against the various kinds of invading germs. Okay, so those are called as your T lymphocytes, and B lymphocytes are the one which will be getting its formation or its maturity from that of our bone marrow. Okay, actually it was first noticed in case of birds. Bursa of Fabricius is the organ in them where these lymphocytes, they get maturity. So since it was first reported from the Bursa of Fabricius, so from Bursa of Fabricius, this B, capital B is there, which is called as your B lymphocytes. It's this B lymphocytes which produces the antibodies. Now, antibodies help to fight against the germs, that is antigens, by various ways. They produce certain chemicals which makes pores in their cell membrane. As a result, plasmolysis takes place. That means the that is the cytoplasm and all is coming out of those pores, and the cell becomes shrinked, and finally the cell dies. Then sometimes agglutination takes place. Agglutination means joining up of the, clumping up of the antigens so that they cannot move around into the body and they cannot increase their numbers. So if they're confined to a place, if they're restricted to a place, definitely their movement in the body will be restricted and they cannot cause so much of serious issues in our body. So this is how the lymphocytes in our body help us to fight against the invading germs, which is nothing but the antigen. Antigens are the germs also, antigens are the pollen grains also, antigens are the dust particles also, and in response to it our body produces antibodies. And the lymphocytes, they are of two types, as I told you, the name T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. See students, you will not find this in your NCERT book of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes in class 9. But just I am telling you for extra knowledge, you may just simply write the lymphocytes of our body fight against the germs, invading germs, so that the body can get a prevention against those microorganisms establishing into the body, and thus we can save ourselves from getting the disease. Okay, next is immunization. Now, immunization here, this is this term means vaccinating people on a large scale. If you are immunizing, that means you are making the immune system stronger. How? By putting vaccine. Now what is this vaccine? Vaccines are, you can say, some microorganisms or some chemical secretions of the microorganisms which are introduced in small dosage into the body of the host, and as a result of it, it produces the antibody. Okay, it produces the antibody, and that antibody gets stored in the body. Okay, and when next time the same germ enters into our body, the already stored antibody, there are some memory T cells. Okay, memory T cells, that means these cells will memorize the microorganism which has caused already the disease in your body, or which is given in the form of your vaccine in your body, and now it will multiply itself. So once the antibodies are multiplied on a larger scale, they will bind with the antigen. Antigen antibody reaction will happen, and antibody will kill or nullify the effect of the antigen, and as a result it will not be able to establish in a severe form in your body. That is the principle behind vaccination or vaccine given to us. Okay, vaccine can be in the form of, I said, some chemical substance like tetanus. Tetanus is a vaccine in which not the organism is entering into our body. It is the toxic substance of the Mycobacterium tetani, the name of the microorganism, which is entering into our body in the form of toxic substance. It is given in the form of injection. Tetanus, when any cut is there, you get a tetanus injection. Now this tetanus antibody will now fight with the antigen, and then you will not get the problem of tetanus in your body. The tetanus means locked jaw. Your lower jaw will be locked. Okay, and it is a short term vaccine. That means every 6 months you have to take tetanus. Means after 6 months the validity of the tetanus vaccine is not there in your body. You have to again, if you get a cut after 6 months, you have to again take a new tetanus vaccine. But there are certain vaccines like BCG which we have taken when we were babies, the DPT. These vaccines effect is long lasting, so they are long term vaccine. So vaccines are also of different types. This is not in your syllabus at this small level, so you don't have to remember long term vaccine, short term vaccine, this thing. No, just vaccine. What are vaccines? These are substances like microorganisms in weak form, or their toxic substance which is introduced in the form of injections or sometimes oral drop, like you are taking polio drops, isn't it? And as a result of it, the antibody is prepared in our body and stored in our body, so that next time if any microorganisms enter, same type of microorganisms enter, those antibodies will now multiply themselves and they will not allow the antigen to establish and cause the disease. Okay, so today only up to this much, that is prevention of disease, principles of prevention of disease. General ways is very simple, that you even don't have to learn properly. You know how to clean your hands, use a clean towel, use clean clothes and all those things. Main thing is the immune system and immunization. Immune system, I told you about the lymphocytes, macrophages, and immunization in the form of vaccine. Now this vaccine was first given by Edward Jenner to a small boy in England, and there he tested and he got successful. Smallpox vaccine was thus created by Edward Jenner by introducing cow pus. Cow pus means the cows also have pox. So from there some pus is taken and it is introduced in the form of injection to that small boy by Edward Jenner, and then this boy developed immunity against smallpox. And from there the first vaccine came into existence, and it was a miracle. And then from there onwards vaccine came into existence, and now we are working upon COVID vaccine also, isn't it? So that's all for today's class. I hope you enjoyed the class as well as understood the class well. We will continue for the next coming classes about the various diseases caused by microorganisms like bacterial disease, fungal disease, protozoal disease, etc. That's all for you.